As I'm sure you know, there's a silly fashion around these days about apologising for things that happened in the past. People apologise, for example, for the potato famine. Pope Benedict has apologised for the Crusades. Her Majesty the Queen has apologised to the Maoris for the occupation of New Zealand. Tony Blair, as I've said, as I mentioned, has apologised for the potato famine. Funnily enough, he hasn't apologised for the slave trade. Now, I want to sort of see, do we have anything to apologise for being here? Because I think there are people who think that we do. Most Catholics, most Roman Catholics believe and frequently say that Ireland is their country. Not in the usual sense that it is their native land, but for some of them at least, in a strictly legal sense. They claim to be the real owners because it was once taken away from them. Now, if you go across the other side of the Irish Sea, no Englishman, on the dubious grounds that he believes himself to be a Saxon, would claim to be the rightful owner of Arundel Castle, or ever say the Normans had taken it from him. 2 years ago, when I was giving a similar talk, I noticed a letter in the Sunday Times by a gentleman called Dick Keane, who's very keen in writing letters. This letter, I think, was published on the 25th of September 2005. And this is what Keane said: "We see the Unionists as usurpers of our ancient tribal territory. Our most fervent wish is to subsume, subjugate or exterminate these intruders so we can have our united Ireland. While a bit of brick bashing has always been part of our nationalism, we reserve our deepest hatred for Unionists." Now, just in case you get the wrong end of the stick, Dick Keane is bashing, he comes from a nationalist Roman Catholic background, but he's bashing the mentality and the attitudes of many of his co-religionists and those who, broadly speaking, would share his political background. Unionists have been very nervous in the past. Before the introduction of Gladstone's first Home Rule Bill, there were rumours circulating in Ulster that nationalists and Roman Catholic priests were already raffling Protestant-owned farms and properties to be confiscated on the enactment of the scheme of Irish autonomy. Their intention, it was feared, was to drive the successors of the planters and the colonists out of the country and then take possession of the lands they occupy in Ulster. In 1798, it was rumoured in Ulster that Presbyterians among the United Irishmen would take the farms of those Protestants who stayed loyal. So, have Unionists something to be guilty of about, feel guilty? Lord Ernest Hamilton was the brother of the second Duke of Abercorn. He was briefly Member of Parliament for North Tyrone, but he was too intelligent to be satisfied with the existence of a backbench MP and gave up politics and went away and wrote books instead. In one of these he observed, "A man is not responsible for the back history of every Chippendale chair he buys." Another Tyrone man, Major General Hugh Montgomery of Blessingbourne, was the founder of the Irish Association. The association's purpose was and is to make reason and goodwill take the place of passion and prejudice in Ireland North and South. Between August and December 1939, Major General Montgomery and Father John McShane, the parish priest of Omagh, engaged in a lengthy and very interesting correspondence. Major General Montgomery wrote to McShane, "No doubt a gross blunder in England's part at the time, but still a historical fact whose existence it is useless to try and ignore, and for which the present-day Ulster Protestants nor the present-day British government can feel fairly held answerable." So Montgomery was prepared to admit that the plantation may have been a blunder, but he took the view that present-day Ulster Protestants, the people who were alive in 1939, and indeed the British government of 1939, could not be held responsible for it. Now, that seems to me to be a perfectly reasonable view, even in 2007. As I already said, apologising for things for which one has no responsibility has become a serious political fashion. We already said that Tony Blair has apologised for the potato famine, not the slave trade, the Pope has apologised for the Crusades, and the Queen has apologised to the Maoris. Objectively, the famine was a natural disaster. Perhaps the policy of Lord John Russell's government is open to criticism. However, these are all things in the past. There is nobody alive today who can be held personally responsible for the famine. There's nobody alive today who can be personally held responsible for the Plantation of Ulster. When it comes to apologising for things, the only people that are capable of apologising are the people who did the wrong, if there is a wrong. There's no point in Roger Bradley apologising for my behaviour or conduct. Now, in the very unlikely circumstances that his wife did something horrendous, and knowing Mrs. Bradley, this is totally inconceivable, it might just be possible for Roger to apologise for his wife's activities, or indeed you might want to apologise for some members of your family. But the reality is that the only thing you can apologise is for things that you've done yourself. The plantation is a long, long time ago, and as Major General Montgomery had said in 1939, it's no part of any of the responsibility of anybody in this room, or indeed anybody who's alive. So this idea that you should be guilt-tripped because of the Plantation of Ulster is a load of nonsense. With that, I propose to stop.